Welcome to another episode of Ship of War, my review of Stage Fright. Stage Fright is directed by Jerome Stabile. It stars Minnie Driver, Meatloaf, and Ally McDonald. Now, the premise of this movie follows the story of a young girl played by Ally McDonald. Something happens to her when she was a child to her mother, who's played by Minnie Driver. She then gets adopted by Meatloaf, who then runs a camp for children who are into like Broadway musicals and stuff like that. She basically just works at the camp. The camp then gets terrorized by a killer of some kind who's killing off students of this camp, and that's pretty much how the story begins. I went into this film pretty much with the mindset of hoping it would be a good slasher movie with some comedy in it, because if you watch the trailer, it seems like a complete satire to horror movies and slasher movies. It's a thing that I really liked about this movie that you see in the trailer is that it's kind of a musical and yet it's a slasher film all mixed in one, and I actually really liked it. There was some musical numbers in this movie that actually had me laughing out loud that I really enjoy. The slasher stuff, it was gruesome, it was violent, but the overall story was very predictable. It wasn't anything very original, and I guess the whole point that this movie's not taking itself seriously and it's supposed to be almost a parody of slasher movies. In a way, I guess I see where they're trying to go with the story by, telling this very overdone type of storytelling that we've seen so many times in these type of movies, and this movie has that storytelling that I personally did not care for, because it's like I've seen this done before, and like halfway into the movie I already figured out who the killer was, or at least that's all I'm going to say right there, because there's something else that happens, but I'm not going to talk about that. I have to say, this movie, I will give the positive when it comes to the musical. The gruesomeness of it is there when it comes to a good slasher movie, but the overall story was just, it was lackluster. I have to use that word because that's basically what it was. It was very predictable. There was no surprises really. It reminded me in certain aspects of Scream 3, which is my least favorite of the Scream movies, because in Scream 3, that you have that whole scene with the stage and then the killer the ghost face going after everybody and killing them on the stage. This is a type of movie I would definitely recommend to those who like slasher movies. You like gruesome, violent movies that have some gruesome deaths. This movie has it. But if you're looking for good storytelling, something that's original, this movie doesn't have it. And if you're a musical buff, I would say check this movie out, because this movie does have some pretty funny musical numbers and some pretty catchy tunes that I actually kind of liked. So that is my review of Stage Fright. Thank you for watching, and if you haven't already, please subscribe. Son of Batman follows the story of Batman Bruce Wayne discovering that he has a son with Talia al Ghul. And the way he discovers this is because something happens to Talia al Ghul and her son and her father, and she then has to take their son Damian Wayne to Bruce Wayne for him to protect their son, because Deathstroke is after their son, because something happens in the beginning of the story where Damian does something to Deathstroke that really pisses him off. I'm not normally a person that really